She doesn't have the firepower, personality, or pure sexual bliss that Bayonetta has, but you know what? She came first. That's right, this is Alicia from a game called Bullet Witch, which launched back in February of 2007 on the Xbox 360 exclusively. I believe it did make its way to PC as well, although maybe perhaps a little bit later. And this game first released in 2006 in Japan markets and was then localized in the US and released in February 2007, as I mentioned before. And man, when I first booted up this game, the immediate thing that jumped out at me was the just complete technical mess that this game is. This is perhaps one of the most hideous, ugly games on the Xbox 360 to date. The actual graphics themselves, it's like they almost tried to go for photorealism, but everything from like the shadows, the texture quality, the animations, almost everything in this game feels so bland and just completely unfiltered to the point where it just looks like this really horrible, ugly mess, like parts of the game were just left completely unfinished or undone. I have no idea what happened there, but then to add insult to injury, the game's frame rate is also horribly optimized, running almost consistently in the mid-20s throughout your entire experience. And if that wasn't enough, we also have a narrative in here which is just exceptionally cringeworthy. Everything from the characters, the story itself, the enemies, the voice acting, and everything in between is just horrible. It's really, really bad and laughable at times. I mean, you enjoy parts of it, right? Just because of you can't believe some of the dialogue that's coming out of these characters' mouths, and it just is. It does not really give you a great first impression. So amidst all this chaos, I powered through and I completed the game after around 6 hours or so. And why? Why would I suffer through this? Well, believe it or not, what you're seeing on screen, this third-person run-and-gun shooting, actually isn't that bad. In fact, I was, oddly enough, having some fun with this game at times because the gameplay itself actually has some interesting moments. You run around, you shoot people, you have completely unlimited bullets, by the way, so there is no ammo. But Alicia here is a witch, so you have these different powers and different upgrades that you can unlock. In fact, at the end of every stage, you then have the opportunity to basically browse through your available skill points that you get throughout playing the campaign and unlock new additional powers. These powers range vastly in terms of scale as well as their purpose. You have some powers that are more for defense. You'll see me for a few times bringing up a shield to block incoming projectiles and bullets from the enemies. There are powers that let you summon tornadoes and lightning from the sky, and you know what? It's actually pretty fucking cool. There are powers to revive fallen comrades, so if you need someone to distract the enemy while you circle around and flank them, you can revive fallen comrades in this game, and the AI will just, again, kind of act as a distraction. They don't really do anything, to be completely honest. I mean, there's lots of powers here, and they're all actually useful in their own ways, and they're fun to sort of experiment and play around with. It's just a shame that what you have here is an actually interesting, somewhat interesting concept here with a very bland world, a horribly told as well as voice acted storyline, and a complete technical mess of a game with severe pop-in, completely untextured surfaces, and horrible frame rate at a cinematic 24 FPS. It's just, man. But despite all of that, the game is actually on its own enjoyable to play, which I guess is actually the most important thing here, because despite all of the issues with this game, you can actually have a good time with it if you give it a chance and start unlocking stuff. And the game isn't that long. Like I said, it took me around 6 hours to fully complete this game. And, you know, I didn't love the story anymore towards the end of it. But at the same time, the gameplay for what it was kind of grew on me a little bit. And you get into a flow with this game's combat that actually makes it somewhat, you know, interesting. So there are two things surrounding this game, because for the most part, what we have here is a very inconsistent experience. But would you believe it that this game can be downright impressive at some points, even though it's a technical mess? And why is it impressive? Well, you're going to see an example of this right now. What we have here is a physical-based destruction system, which I haven't often seen from the first 2-year launch titles on the Xbox 360 and PS3. And by the way, this isn't like a set-piece moment, right? Because I played through this scenario a few times to test it myself. The bridge breaks in various different ways. Buildings will break in various different ways. It's not like it's just predetermined to blow up at this specific point in the storyline. Depending on where you cast your powers and which power you actually cast, it could actually influence the level of destruction on the actual environment, and that is impressive. I was like, wow, you know, this is actually kind of cool, because it makes the combat feel a little bit more dynamic than your simple sort of run, gun, shoot, and dodge and everything like that. You're actually somewhat influencing the environment, and as you go on throughout the game and you unlock more powers, you can really play around with the environment in very interesting ways. The second and last impressive thing I have to say about this game also has to do with scale, and that is the size of these levels, the actual environments themselves. Now, what they built here are incredibly large open areas. We're talking areas that probably rival any of the modern-day Battlefield maps. Unfortunately, they also screw this up on the gameplay front, because although these environments are huge, you don't really have a reason to go out and explore the entire area. And on top of that, they don't give you a map system whatsoever. There is no map in this game, which means that you will get lost at points. And I found myself at one point running around for about half an hour trying to find out where the next person I was supposed to kill was. General rule of thumb when playing this game is just, if you see enemies, you're going the right direction. But there really needed to be a map system that should have been implemented when you had levels that are this large, and they're pretty fucking massive, I have to say. They do have set pieces as well to help spice things up. There was this one level where I was actually fighting on top of an airplane as it was flying that tens of thousands of feet up in the air to its destination. Because why the hell not? It just adds to the ridiculous factor of this game that, you know, you just sort of go with it, you know. Whatever this game throws at you, and it throws some really weird shit at you at times, you just kind of go with it, and you start, you know, enjoying the gameplay for what it was, and you're just looking forward to blowing up the next structure or wreaking havoc on the next group of enemies. So it's not all bad. It's a technical disaster. Its story is embarrassingly hilarious, but at the end of the day, you have some really interesting gameplay elements here, and the game's only around 6 hours long or so. I don't really know if I should recommend anyone to play this. It's not backwards compatible on the Xbox One for, well, reasons that you could probably think of already. I'm not even sure if this game even sold well or many people even know about it. So you need to actually have Xbox 360 hardware to enjoy it, and even at that point, the game doesn't run, you know, anywhere near its target frame rate. But if you're looking for an excuse to unlock some additional achievement points, or you just want to see what early titles on the 7th generation actually looked like, I mean, it's at least interesting. The best thing I can say about this game is that it has character. And you want to know something? There's so many games that come out that lack character, that are trying to just duplicate and copy something else. This game at least isn't ashamed to be what it is, or maybe inadvertently became something it didn't want to be, but at the same time, it has character, it has personality to it, it's its own kind of unique thing. So for that reason alone, I respect it. Just, you know and understand there's a caveat going in there with just the technical hurdles, the narrative, and stuff like that. But, you know, decent job with the gameplay. I think they could have built upon this premise, but, you know, they needed to at least deliver somewhat of a quality product, and that isn't what we get here. So it was interesting for me to play it through, and I kind of wanted to share my thoughts just because I'm not even sure many people know about this game or even acknowledge its existence. But yeah, you know, I guess give it a shot if you're willing to contend with its issues. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys next time I reminisce about some of these older games. Have a good one.
The invisible God wouldn't bend the laws that govern life, but the devil.
You look like a normal human being, but that power of yours isn't human. I don't know. It's more like
a witch.
Is this where you've been hiding?
Lament your resurrection within the flames of hell.
That must have been magic! That's some power!
It seems to have absorbed enough souls. You can't defeat it as you are now.
I can still
I
fight.
don't want to die.
So, what's your name anyway?
Alicia.